Brandon Molson.
Justin Smith.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Justin Smith, good? Brandon Molson from Tracks and Sign.
Yes, sir.
Glad you're alive.
Oh, feeling a little bit. I guess I'm feeling a little better than I was the first morning after our trip, but made it home safe. Didn't fall asleep at the wheel. Didn't slide off during the crazy snowstorm.
You made me nervous a couple times.
Oh, I bet.
And you're like, yeah, I got to get out and stretch.
Oh, on the way back?
Yeah.
Had to hit a rest stop and just get out and stretch the legs a little bit. I was going to answer you.
Next rest stop, 13 miles.
And we're going to have to wait 13 miles.
It was a long 13 miles. So Brandon and I, Brandon invited me down for a last minute bow hunt down to the property in Ohio.
Season ended on Sunday, and we left Thursday evening to do an all-day hunt on Friday.
So we were up all day Thursday, all night, all Friday. You got back in Rochester, somewhere around 1:30-ish?
Yeah, something like that.
And then obviously body's still, processing the Red Bulls and the just being overtired and.
Yeah, pot of coffee, 4 or 5 Red Bulls, and yeah, couldn't go to sleep right away, of course. Sounds like you went to bed after I did, but got back just exhausted from being up for 40-something hours straight, and then sitting and being on edge, hoping deer are going to come into where we're at. When I left there, when I left Rochester Thursday evening, we already had, 4 inches of like compact snow on the ground, and the salt trucks and everything, or plow trucks and everything, they were out, but the main roads weren't even done yet. So the back roads were real bad. And the main road that you live near, that was like just a sheet of ice. And when I was coming from my house to, I take I-75, going to the highway. How many miles am I away from it? I don't know, 5 or so miles away from it. I get behind this. So I have a Silverado, nice meaty tires, brand new too. And so I felt like I was completely fine, but I get on the road heading to the highway, and I get behind this van that's going like high teens to like maybe 20 miles an hour. And I'm like miles away from this, but the tracks in the road are only in one lane right now at this time. So I'm not going to be that guy that's going to be like fishtailing around this person going in uncharted snow and causing a scene. So I just, and I didn't tailgate him. I just rolled with the bunches and drove. And then this guy in this van gets up to the light, and then I finally go into the the unplowed area. And I come up next to him, not trying to push buttons or anything. Just, I can't even believe you're about to get on this highway, buddy. But I'm definitely getting on the highway, and I'm not going to get stuck behind you getting on the highway. Pull up next to him, and he opens his car door. So like his window is frozen or something crazy, and I can tell he wants to talk to me. So I roll my window down, and he's like, "Sorry, dude. I'm sorry. I've got this bald tire on my front passenger side, and I'm nervous out here." I'm like, "Oh man, no worries. Just drive safe." And all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah. Hey, cool truck." Like, thanks, man. Drive safe. And that was the end of our interaction. But I light turned green. I turn. I get on the on ramp. ramp. I'm starting to get on to 75. I look back, and he's like still just making the turn to get. I'm like, I can't even believe this guy's about to get on the highway. That's really unfortunate for certainly him, but maybe hopefully not others.
It took you like almost an hour to get from Rochester to me.
Yeah, and to put it in perspective, it should take like 25, 30 minutes tops.
Yeah. I know.
But between that and the highway, even though I felt comfortable in the truck, like I wasn't going speed limit, because I mean they were bad. You got to be. There's bad, and then your main road, getting out there when I got off the highway, it was just a sheet of ice. So.
My girlfriend was like, "Why are you guys doing this? Like the bad weather, the no sleep for just a full day of hunting." I'm like, "Listen, if there is one person in this world where I feel safe and like amped to do this type of trip with, it's Brandon Molson. Like,
I appreciate
it's
that.
in your blood." So I was like, all right, like if there's one person, it's you that I want to go accomplish what we're about to do for the next, 40 something hours.
Oh, I felt completely fine about the road conditions. I knew it was going to be an obstacle. It just a little more time it's going to take to get down there. But like the safety situation, I wasn't worried about. But
I mean, once we got on 75, in Detroit, like they were pretty good actually. We didn't have any issues.
When we crossed over to Ohio, it was like it was dry pavement the whole way. So that was fine. I was just excited. We had this planned. A day in advance or so. It wasn't like it was kind of a last minute thing, but strategically, it was the weather was dropping, the snow was coming in, the rain was holding the deer in all night, and by the time we got down there, it was all supposed to let up. So ideally, we get down there, and maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself in the conversation, but ideally, the plan was to get down there in the middle of the night, sleep for like an hour or two, and then. And then get our setup out there. So we had some corn and apples and put the bait out there in our lanes, and then just let it be still. And then the rain stops and the snow stops, and in there we would be set up, and hopefully the deer they were stuck bedded from all this nasty weather at nighttime, and then hungry in the morning. And we're going to come into us like magnets. At least that's what I had in my head. Didn't quite pan out that way, but.
I mean, pretty much like everything that you said except for the deer being magnets.
Yeah, we did all the rest of it.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't sleep for the 1 or 2 hours.
We did not sleep.
We got down there like right at like 5 o'clock or whatever, and shoot like 7. So we had to hustle and get our setup. Because walking up there,
oh my,
it's hard to walk up there when it's bone dry dirt. I'll let you take this one, Justin.
It was funny because I was trying to explain to my girlfriend about like I'm not 100% sure that even without all of our gear and some of the bait and it being icy and snowy, I'm not sure I can make it up that ridge in like, in the middle of a nice temperature, spring day, all the way up that hill, all the way up on one go. Like, I'm pretty sure I would have to stop no matter what.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, you're allowed to bait down Ohio. So we had all of our gear. We had chairs. We had our snacks and our food bag, and we had everything. Yeah, your crossbow. We wanted to do this in one trip, minimize foot traffic and scent. And so Brandon, started going up, and at first you could tell we were both just wanting to concentrate on our breath and just like focus on breathing and just each step type thing. And man, Brandon, you were moving, and I was pretty far behind you, and man, this was actually like, I'm still kind of recovering from this. Like I could still feel it in my throat and my chest. But anyways, I was walking up this ridge, and it was, it was dark, and I did have a light on, but you were trying to concentrate on breathing. And anyways, I was passing this tree limb or tree branch or this, thick brush, and one of the branches caught onto the chair strap that was, hanging around my neck. So I had our bag full of food on the front, from my neck, and then I had the chair strap around my neck, but hanging off behind me.
We had 2 bags of food on your shoulder.
Yeah,
didn't you?
2 bags of
one on each.
Yep, one. I had two bags of food on one on each shoulder.
40-pound bags.
And going up this hill, like, so. Anyways, I the tree branch caught into the chair strap, and it was like the 2 bags were pulling on each other. So one was from behind me, one was like in front of me, and it was like collapsing my ability to like breathe. And like, I started freaking out a little because you were on a mission. I wasn't about to say anything because I wasn't sure what I got myself into. So eventually, like, no joke, it was to the point where even my headlamp was hard to see because I could tell that I was becoming very out of breath, and it was very cold. So you're breathing really heavy in, and that, the cold breath, and you just start to feel like a really tight chest and throat. And I eventually just had to like just fall over and drop the bait. And you were long gone. You didn't even have a light on, so I can't believe you made it to where we were going. And then I couldn't tell, because I'm not. This is only my second time there, and in the pitch dark, I wasn't even really sure where you went. I thought I saw your foot tracks, but I was like not 100% sure, and I was still very out of breath. So I waited, I think probably at least 10, 15 minutes. And then finally you came back and you're like, I was like, dude, I was just like, like, I was so out of breath, Brandon.
Oh, so was I. But you were at least like, you were up on the gas line. Excuse me. You were up on the gas line and I was down. So for anybody that hasn't listened to an earlier podcast, there's a road. It's a back dirt road, very little travel. Maybe a handful of cars a day go on this thing, and it might even be the same cars. But there's a gas line that goes from the south end of the property to the north end, and we're on the south end here. And you go up, I don't even a couple hundred vertical feet. But it's spread out on like of course it's not just directly up, or not like rock climbing, but I mean it's a nice vertical that kind of traverses around up to this gas line, loops around, and once you get up there, you walk, I don't know, 50 yards or something, or maybe more to the trailhead. I'm calling it a trailhead. From the gas line, and this is like the entrance to where my spot is, but it's downhill, 60 or so yards down. But the vertical drop, I mean, I don't know, it's not as bad as it was up from the road, but it's still, it's. I mean, I slip on it every other time. Maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say you have to it's pretty challenging, especially when it was all the ice and the snow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And then you get down there and you're on this food plot bench where my stand is at, and you're overlooking the creek bottom ridge, which is a real nice vertical drop. And so I made it there. I did stop at the trailhead right before I started going down the hill, and I just, I was so exhausted, and that's usually where I can't make it. And I was just thinking, keep the feet moving, because my arms are going to give out first. They're just going to drop the bags. So I did drop one bag halfway up the hill, and I got down to my my stand, and I immediately dropped everything, and then I put my backpack, food bag, and our food snack bag, and crossbow into the shooter shack. Picked up that bag of corn, went and put it out, walked half back up the hill, grabbed that bag, put that out. And then I'm looking around. I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't seen Justin in. It's been some time. So I'm looking up and I see this, like, it's almost like a spotlight, like just, in the air going. And I'm like, I wonder if he doesn't know where, I wonder if he doesn't know where we're at, or, like, I'm assuming he's okay. So I'm like, I'll just go back up there. And I go back up there, and I am out of breath. Like, I know I'm just way out of shape, but still, like, it's just challenging. So I get up and I see you, and we don't even really say many words to each other.
Well, it was one of those things where I could tell, like, yo, dude, we got to move. Like, there's not much time. Like, in my head, I'm like, man, like, I know what needs to happen in this short amount of time, but I'm like, I can't breathe. Like,
yeah,
I could not catch my breath. So yeah, you got back and I was like, all right, thank you. Like, I didn't even tell you right away what happened. Yeah.
It was just like, something just went down. You're not moving. I mean, you're standing up and the bags are, the feed bags are on the ground. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'll pick, and you're just like, just take the chair. I'm like, I'm not taking, you know, a 1 pound chair, but little did I know the chair is what made you fall down. So I guess I should have taken that chair.
Dude, I didn't want anything to do with that chair.
Yeah. So I grabbed one of the bags and we just, you know, hoof it down there and get set up and get into the shooter shack. And you tell me the rest of the story, but man, that was at this point, you know, we're, I don't know, like a hour 45 minutes to shoot light. Like that took us a considerable amount of time. So, you know, it is what it is. It wasn't raining, I don't think. At that time it had stopped snowing and rain. Like the rain turned into snow, but it was raining prior to, so it's nasty conditions. But the ground was covered in white, so that was pretty cool. We got set up there, and I'm pretty sure before shoot light, I fell asleep for, I don't know, 20 something minutes. You think?
Yeah, maybe 20, if not even.
Something like that. And then you heard a deer. What did you do? You tapped me and Brent.
Yeah.
I mean, but quiet though, quiet.
Yeah, I was like, I tapped you, and I tapped you like twice, and then I tapped you like 3 times, and you finally like came to, and I'm like, deer. And we heard him making some noise.
Yeah.
So I was like, awesome.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, our plans coming together. There's no way. We just made so much noise getting down here. And yeah, I thought it was, I just had that feeling this can be a solid hunting day, and maybe we can get it done right away like this, which is
ideal.
Would be so awesome. Yeah.
It would be amazing. It would have been amazing.
So light happens. That noise happens. Don't see any deer all morning. We do a 12 o'clock check-in, which we have posted on our YouTube channel, and no deer. Haven't seen anything. We heard a blow off in the distance, though. It wasn't a blow at us. At this point in the morning, we had a south wind, but then it was swirling.
Yeah, it was
which
all
got interesting.
Yeah.
And then I think it ended with more of like a real slow north wind. But throughout the day it was swirling, and it got windy. I mean, it was. I have these burlap, and you can see in our YouTube videos what the shooter shack looks like. It's 4x8, so it's a big, probably too big, but and it's not too far. It's not up in the air where I want it to be, where it will be for the next season, but covering the hole. So I have a door on the 4 foot side, and on both 8-foot sides, there's windows, and then just openings, and then on the 4-foot side, opposite from the door side is open, and that is how I have it positioned, looking down the ridge, down the bench, to the deer corridor there that overlooks the creek bottom ridge. So the 4-foot side is looking down, and one of the 8-foot sides is looking out over this. It's kind of tucked in the woods, but it's out overlooking a small little food plot, and then I have the back of it, thick woods, timber. We don't walk back there, but I have a black blanket covering that. So that's the setup for now. Let's see. And you and I are facing the 8-foot side, but I am down where I have a shot out of the 4-foot window in case something walks up there. So we have bait throughout the food plot and then down on that ridge, seeing if anything's going down up and down the highway or coming up and down the ridge, which sometimes it does. So hey, I thought our setup was good.
Our setup was great.
Yeah. Had the crossbow there. This was our absolute last shot at getting something down, hoping a big buck was going to come in looking hungry. We sat all day. We did another check-in at 2:30, which is also on our YouTube channel. And when did shoot light end?
Shoot light ended at 5:55. Yeah, because 6:25 was last.
No, sundown was 5:55.
Yeah, 5:55.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then 6:25 was the end of shoot light there. And man, we sat all day, ate lunch mid-afternoon.
Thank you for the sandwiches, Miranda. They were incredible manwiches.
Yeah, my wife made some manwiches for us.
Meaty sandwiches.
Oh yeah, they were good. And we had some snacks and coffee and Red Bull to get us through the day. It flew by. It did. I mean, it was cold, but it flew by.
Yeah. And
gosh, it was just. I mean, we had the burlap down the whole time, and that's how it is when I'm leaving. So I don't want it to be different when we show up there. And I'm sure deer are peeking through the woods and stuff like that. Just they can probably smell us, or they can definitely smell the bait. So I don't know if we literally didn't see anything throughout the day, but about an hour and 45 minutes left until shoot light, sometime around like 5 o'clock. Maybe a little before. Like it was like 4 something. I'm looking through the binos across the food plot, and first deer that we see pops into the scene through the woods, though, out of bow range, at least out of crossbow range, and it's just staring. And I'm looking at it through the binoculars, and that was like the turning point for the day. And so, very excited that there's a lot of time left. And then what, Justin? I think you saw more come in through the back, and then all of a sudden you started seeing them come down the ridge, but across the creek on the other side of the bottom.
Yeah, and they were down the other side of the ridge across from the creek. I saw 3 deer, and I noticed that they were being like kind of frantic, and they were almost doing like a upside down or a sideways S, like they were coming down the ridge. And they were, head down smelling, kind of not running, but moving fast, and then doing like this S motion. And they either went back up the ridge, or they were doing another like little half circle and coming back down the ridge, like essentially coming, like not necessarily coming towards us, but in our direction, but on the other side of the creek. But all 3 deer did very similar like motions. So I don't know. I thought that was very interesting. And then I don't know if these were the same deer, but, farther into the woods, behind your food plot, I saw deer running like back and forth. Like they were just acting weird.
Yeah, that was, they were all over the place. It was so strange. All of a sudden, we don't see anything all day long, and then at this point, we see the first deer that we wouldn't have seen unless we were looking literally in that direction through the woods with binoculars, and it's staring into the food plot. And then right when we see that deer, like deer coming from different directions, all over.
Yeah, all over the place.
And they're all acting strange. And then the button buck pops out, just in the middle of the food plot. I didn't know if it came from, and didn't it come from our walking, like the path that we
it definitely did. Yeah, so when we were walking out after the hunt was done, we saw the hoof prints, and it definitely came down our trail.
So we have this real nice looking doe, a big doe in the back.
So Brandon, I think that doe was the doe you took a shot at at the same time when we were having that interaction that we saw with those poachers.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because it's a big brown doe, like big doe, not a buck, not a shedded buck. And man, that was a bummer.
And the button buck that came in. So that same day where you took that shot, that button buck was there too at the same time as that doe.
Yeah, because now I remember. Well, you pointed it out. Now it was so close. It was right in front of us. So I did get a good look at the buttons, but so Justin and I were down there a month ago. We were there New Year's Day, was it? New Year's Day.
Yeah, it was the first.
So we hunted the second for muzzleloader season. We were down there for a few days, and each day these doe would come in, and finally, second to last day, I took a shot at this big doe, but there was 3 or 4 out there, and this little button buck I think was part of that crew, and I remember you being like, well, don't shoot that one. That's a button buck. And I'm like, what? And I couldn't see it. And then I was focused on the big doe. Well, now a month later, we're back down there. Big doe's showing herself in the far back, not in the plot, but far back there. And then this button buck just comes walking right in front of our stand.
Super chill. Like he wasn't acting like obviously he was a buck, but all the other deer were acting very weird. And this button buck was just like, like just, coming down the lane, eating on the food, and just kind of doing its thing, and not being skittish or anything.
Yeah, just like and it wasn't even like keeping to the edges. It walked right through the middle of the plot over to this one food pile, and then it left from there and went to the other pile that was on the edge of it, and then walked off. But at the same time, more doe showed up the back. These crazy acting ones were freaking out down the ridge. Down the ridge is like hundreds of yards away. So like we would assume that they would probably cross the creek at some point and then come up the ridge system to where we're at. That's what usually happens. But these things were like, frantically, like Justin said, up and down, up and down. Well, all of a sudden, there was no deer in sight. And how long do you think the interactions lasted? That from the first time we saw a deer till, was it?
Oh, it was a while.
Like 30 minutes?
Yeah, at least, if not a little bit more. But yeah, at least 30 minutes.
Yeah, because I remember something about like, okay, well, I don't see any more deer, but we still have a whole hour left. Something like that. And we just saw a bunch of deer. And certain something was going to come in. So didn't shoot the button. Was really hoping for like a big doe or, hey, a big buck steps out in the scene and finally get it done for the year. But I was already okay with taking a doe for the freezer, and it's exciting to take a doe. So nothing comes in for the next hour. Don't even see anything. Don't hear a blow. None of these deer blew at us. It was super strange. So what do you think? What do you think it could have been?
So
besides, it could have been us, of course.
I mean, yeah. It definitely could have been us. But what this idea of like a late third rut.
Yep.
Like the way these deer were acting, and then how I think about during late bow season, beginning of early rut, and during early gun, how doe act, and then how that button buck was so composed, it just had its shit together, and then these doe were just frantic, like they were being chased. And so I think it was you, Brandon, or I'm not. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was you. You heard from somewhere or from someone this theory of, you know, a third rut, like a last minute hoorah. And I think something like that was happening.
You know, these deer acted strange a month ago when when they were in sight. All of them were in shooting range. Remember, they were looking at the ridge, like the entrance. So there's this one entrance into the food plot from the deer highway that I have it in a way where we can't see that walking lane going from. It's like completely protected by a very thick bush, even with no leaves. You can't see. They were staring at that last time. So we're thinking, you know, and when we're hearing crashing coming in, like it's a big deer. It had to have been a buck walking the way it was, and they were acting like that this time. This time they didn't even come in, but some of them are running, and so I would love to assume that there was a big buck in the area, and they were, and I don't think it was us. I think they were skittish because there's food there hasn't been in a few weeks, and I'm sure they could smell us a little bit, but we're covered. Like you can't see our eyes. We are literally inside of a burlap. You can't see it. And you can't see movement. You can't see anything coming from inside of the shooter shack. So and they've never had a problem coming in and eating. Even if they're staring at where we're in our direction the whole time, they still come in and eat every single time. I've never had this happen where we see a bunch of deer and none of them come in. And so my thought was they were avoiding a buck. I know it's coyote mating season, but I don't. And that happened last time. There was a coyote on the prowl, but
they were too much in the open. Like if it was a predator out there, they would have been in like thick cover.
Right, and they were coming from all different directions.
Yeah.
And that button buck could care less what was going on.
Yep.
So it was everything was just very strange, and people talked about like a third rut. So everybody loves the first rut, and a lot of focus goes on that first rut. But there's a number of deer that don't take and go into second rut, and so there's certainly second rut activity going on everywhere. And then there's been plenty of documentation of deer going back into estrus in like that late January, possibly February time, apparently down in Ohio, where there's, for whatever reason, there's a late third rut going on. And the way these were running around, it makes me feel that could have been. And hey, maybe a listener knows more about why these deer were acting the way they were, given the time frame and the location that we were in. But it was strange. So I don't think it was a predator. I don't think it was us. I do think it was a buck or something. And I think it was a buck in the area that they knew about. And I know that the big non-typical buck that is my number one target one made it through rifle and muzzleloader. So at least made it to muzzleloader. And I don't know if there was a muzzleloader, if there was muzzleloader hunters down there after us besides those poachers, hoping the poachers didn't get that buck. But what my point is, I know there's at least one big buck walking around that area, if not a number of them. So, man, I would have loved to just see that thing, even from a distance. I would have been happy.
I know. I was just the whole time, especially after when we weren't seeing any deer, like in my head, because me and you really didn't talk. Like we were like pretty zoned in on our binoculars and just trying to see. I was like, man, I wonder if like just to catch a glimpse of this non-typical, or even, I mean, there's some other very large deer that you've seen on camera. Hey, another question, how you were like, if a listener maybe has some more insight on this, and Brandon, you may know this, and I'm not sure if I even asked you this question, but I wonder, you know, we're 5 hours from home, we're 8 hours from, you know, the Oscoda property. I wonder, based on probably a lot of different things, if ruts occur at different times. Like, is the rut activity similar to like the same time during Michigan, or is it pushed back a little, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's sooner? I have no idea.
Well, I know there's different ruts around the country in different areas for sure, but being Michigan versus Southern Ohio, or Northern Michigan versus Southern Ohio, I don't know. Well, we were noticing at least the original rut was about the same time. Maybe, I mean, it was amping up that end of October, first week of November. It was in, I mean, end of October, yeah, first week of November. It was full blown down in Ohio.
Okay, so yeah, that definitely matches with Michigan.
Yep. Yeah, but I know if you start getting out to like Texas has a different, it's later. Some other places have it later, but I don't know if there's a big difference between Michigan and Ohio. I do know it's the same time every single year.
Yeah.
No matter, like, you know, moon phase and things like that, but or temperature, which I wasn't sure about at the beginning of the season, but digging in a lot further and listening to a lot more stuff and talking to a lot more people, if it's 90 degrees outside and it's beginning of November, the rut is still happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so a lot of people will say, like, well, you know, I'm not going to go hunt because it's 90 degrees outside or 80 degrees outside. Well, you know, those deer their testosterone is 40x during peak rut.
I mean, when I got my last buck during bow season, I shot a 9-point during bow season a couple of years ago, and I was in like my spring hunting like jeans, like my camo jeans and a t-shirt, and then a very light camel pullover. I mean, it was like 70 plus degrees, and you know, the activity was per usual for that time of year. And,
oh yeah,
and it was cool too, Brandon. Like, I've never been in the woods that late before in a season, so that was really cool. And like, I was actually kind of shocked how many deer we saw, you know, an hour and 40 before dark, before last light. I was like, man, this is such a good setup. Like, this is a great sign, because normally we see deer, you know, a half hour or even 20 minutes before, like, you can't see anything. And then, yeah.
Well, here's the interesting thing. I've been saying it. I know you've been saying it. It takes a day and a half about to modify a deer's eating pattern if you're putting bait out. So if you haven't been there for a month and you're put bait out, chances are they're not going to hit it that first day. Well, they hit ours the first day, but late, real late, like they
like almost 12 hours later.
Yeah, they definitely hit it that night. I don't know. I mean, I don't have cameras up there anymore, but like they definitely hit it that night, and they probably crushed it the next day. If we would have stayed down there and gave it if we would have stayed down there one more day, I mean, I bet you we would have had a phenomenal hunt that following, especially with the temperatures were continuing to drop. The snow was probably going to get them up and moving more. Like, we had rain Thursday, but then it was just going to be snowing Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and, you know, just pockets. it could have been a phenomenal last bow hunting weekend, but neither of us could pull that off with our schedule. So it is what it is. It's our fault for my fault for letting it go this late in the season. But hey, dude, we may never be able to do it again, and it was very cool to say I hunted in February.
Yeah, and man, thought a lot about this over the last couple of days, and don't get me wrong. I mean, all the time, effort, energy, and money that went into this season, I've never hunted so much. I'm pretty sure you're on the same page as this, Brandon. Never, sat as many times, took the amount of time, effort, energy, and put it into the woods, and coming home empty-handed. But we sure did learn a lot. It was a lot of fun hunting together.
Yep.
And it
was a blast.
And then we're sitting there, and we're just Brandon and I, throughout the afternoon when it was like the quote unquote slower times, and the times where pretty much like the percentage of you getting a deer slim, but so we would talk, and we're talking about all the work that we want to get done and what we do, and it definitely makes you excited going into the springtime and the 2021 season.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because when we're talking, we're sitting there overlooking the area, and I'm like, oh my gosh, and 1 month or 2 months, I'm gonna come out here and clear all that section down, make that a little wider. I'm gonna clear this section and make a nice run up to the gas line over there. Put this thing up in the air. You can just visualize all the work that you're about to do in the off season to make it, just like you said, just that much better for the upcoming season. So yeah, we can say Whitetail is officially done, but it's always in our mind, and there's work to be done all throughout the year. So hey, I love spending the time down there and up in Esco to this past season with you, Justin. It was a lot of fun.
So many
we did
more opportunities.
Hundreds of dollars to go down there for a day hunt.
No, for real.
If anybody's wondering, to break it down, for a 5-hour drive in a truck, back and forth with a little bit of bait, throw in a toll charge there, not including food. It's like $130 in gas, $80 in bait, and
$30 in energy drinks.
Yeah, $30 in energy drinks, and throw some sandwich money in there, and $17 for the toll there and back. So it's it's not the most expensive thing, because that probably adds up to a hotel room or two, but and no sleep, and you're just driving back and forth. So I love that type of stuff. That's like that's a major part of the excitement for hunting in general, no matter what season it is. But if people are interested in doing things like that, and you're going to make that type of resource commitment, either as a last-ditch effort or just because that's the only way your schedule or family schedule allows you to get stuff done, then put together a handful of those throughout the season. But I still encourage people to get out there and at least give a place a day and a half. Or if you're just set up and where there's deer traffic and you got to get in, get out, spend a couple $100 and do an all-day sit in a prime area or prime areas if you're up and moving. If you want to do a morning or evening sit, because where the sign is. Either way, not having time to hunt is never an excuse.
Yes,
you can always get it done. That's my last message.
Love the last message. You guys be sure to check us out on the internets at www.tracksandsign.com, and we're on a mission. We're trying to grow our YouTube channel. So I will post the link in the description box. If you could do us a favor and click on that link and subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. and follow us on social at Tracks and Sign. And if you do feel, if you like what's on our website and you decide to make a purchase, we do donate 10% of our sales to Ducks Unlimited or NDA/QDMA. And we, Brandon and I really, we're grateful and we appreciate the support. And again, as always, if you know somebody or in your network or maybe yourself, if some of the stuff we're talking about, if you have a lot of knowledge and you'd like to hop on and share your experiences and knowledge with our network, we'd love to hear from you. Fishhuntfind at gmail.com, fishhuntfind at gmail.com. Until next time, Brandon, it's always a pleasure to talk, and we will talk soon.
Hey, thanks, Justin.